Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all the attendees. I believe people are joining one by one, so we will be waiting for another 5 minutes, then we will start formally. We have our speakers with us. You already have seen the poster which were going viral in the past few days. You already know the topic. The topic is basically United Nations SDGs, which are Sustainable Development Goals. And today, in nowadays, it's a really hot topic. Even in Pakistan, where people do not want to invest in these things, but they are investing right now. So internationally, many countries are working on this. So it is very essential time to gain the knowledge regarding these SDGs. But I believe you can understand that it is a limited time, and a limited time will be granted to each speaker. So whatever maximum they can add the value, they will try to add the value. Further, to the attendees, if you have any question, so you can just write the question in the comment section, and we will be answering this question maybe during the webinar if the speaker wants to, or at the end of the webinar, where there'll be in the end, where it will be 15 minutes Q&A session. So I believe how many of candidates have joined yet? Okay. So just let me start with the company introduction. Basically, what is CIC? CIC is basically Crashita International Consultants. It's a US-based multinational company. Our head office is in US. Our physical branches also available in UAE and Pakistan. However, we are working globally in many countries. We have served our services like training, consultancy, audits in 20 plus countries around the globe. CIC is basically a one window solution for all your training, consultancy, ISO audits, and certification needs. And why we are conducting today's webinar as a CSR activity. As a company, as a responsible company, this is our responsibility to spread the awareness, and we appreciate the time which the speakers have, put aside for this wonderful webinar. So we will definitely try to learn from each one of you. So this is a little bit introduction about the company. So I would request now from the first speaker to start the session. Miss Mehreen has with us on board. So she will start with her introduction, definitely. Then she will be moving forward to the topic.
All right. Thank you, Emma, for the opportunity of inviting me as a speaker in this session. So, I am Mehreen and I'm currently working at Marriott Karachi. I've started off my journey in HR since 2008, and since then, I've been associated with a number of organizations. I work in the public sector organization as well, and then in one of the software house. Then I joined Landy Renzo, that is one of the Italian multinational. After Landy Renzo, I was with Avery Dennison, that is one of American Fortune 500 companies. Then after the Avery Dennison, I took a career break for some personal reasons because of my family and all. Then I rejoined my career into apparel and retail at Eaton Robe. I was heading the HR department for a good 4.5 years, and then I finally moved to Marriott Karachi, and now I'm in hospitality industry. So I've had the privilege of working with the people of different cultures and ethnicities and nationalities. So, having said that, Emmer, you rightly pointed out that now there is certain shift in the mindset of the companies now. बिकॉज पहले हम ये नहीं देखते थे कि कंपनीज जो है फोकस कर रही हैं टुवर्ड्स द सस्टेनेबिलिटी एंड ऑल बट नाउ इट्स अ कंपेलिंग नीड ऑफ द नेचर एज वेल एज जिस तरह की हमारी सिचुएशन आजकल हो गई है इट इज important to be shifting our focus towards sustainability. I'll be discussing the first 5 SDGs. That is basically no poverty, zero hunger, health and well-being, quality education, and gender diversity. Talking about goal number 1 that says no poverty. The question here is that why do we have, like, these are generic topics, like, right? But why do we have to shift our focus towards these generic topics? The importance of this is that definitely one has to be mindful of the challenges and the effect it is having in our society. That is the very reason that UN came up with these SDGs in 2015 as a goal that is to be accomplished by 2030. So all the UN nations basically adopted these goals. So goal number one is no poverty. We should be having a look at some of the interesting facts as to why the eradication of poverty is important. There are 736 million people who still live in extreme poverty. That accounts of total 10% of the world's population. Now, when we talk about extreme poverty means that they don't have access to something as basic as safe drinking water or the food. So this is where the importance of this goal number one comes into account. 50% of the people living in poverty are below the age of 18. So that's a young lot that we are talking about. And if the 50% of the people who are living below poverty are 18 years of age, so we can obviously say that they are undernourished. So that is going to affect the society as a whole when our young lot is suffering because of the poverty. One person in every 10 is extremely poor. Despite all the challenges and everything, now when we talk about why these goals are important, obviously there's a gradual shift in the mindset. So there are certain effects that we see in the society as a whole. So rapid growth in countries such as China and India has lifted millions of people out of poverty, but the progress has been, of course, uneven because there are challenges. Like when the UN was coming up with these SDGs in 2015, no one would have thought about COVID-19 then, back then. So these kind of situations that are not under human control always affect the targets that we set. But if you're not able to achieve 100% of the target, at least if you have achieved 50% of it, maybe, at least we have contributed to the society in some form or the other. Women are more likely to be poor than men because they have less paid work, the discrimination. We still face discrimination when it comes to women empowerment and all, and we'll be discussing it in a bit of a detail in the last point that is gender equality. New threats brought on by the climate change, conflicts, and food insecurity mean even more work is needed to bring people out of poverty. We'll move on to the next slide where there is a pictorial image that kind of defines the kind of challenges and the solutions that could be brought in for this. 836 million people live in extreme poverty. The people are more reliant on the natural resources for food and all. So obviously, when there is some sort of natural unrest, it increases the poverty. And poor people, the environmental basically distress and the climate change and disasters, they are prone to it. So the solutions that we can have is that build a resilient workforce. We should be diversifying the livelihood opportunities. People should be having diverse opportunities of earning the livelihood rather than relying only on the natural resources, of course, and to be adapted to the climate change, uh, to fight all these natural disasters and all. So these kind of solutions can be taken into account to encounter the challenges that are there when we are talking about the goal number one, that is no poverty. We'll move on to the next slide, that is goal number two, zero hunger. So by when we talk about zero hunger, it basically addresses the global need for food and security and to promote sustainable agriculture. Some of the interesting facts that we see here is the number of undernourished people reached 821 million in 2017. Now that's a lot of number that we are talking about. More than 1 in 8 adults is obese. Almost 22% of the children, that accounts for 155 million of the world population, were stunted in 2017. Now here we talk about this undernourishment, undergrowth. If the 22% children are stunted, that means they're not reaching to the growth as per their as per their current ages. 1 in 3 women of reproductive age is anemic. That means they're deprived of the basic necessities of food. In 2017, Asia accounted for two-thirds, that is nearly 63% of the world hunger. That is in Asia. So the number of undernourished people has dropped almost by half in the past 2 decades. Now, when the conscious efforts are made towards eradicating hunger or poverty or any of the goals that we're talking about, obviously the 100% impact won't be there because there are certain uncontrollable factors. But then there is some sort of change that we see. So the number of undernourished people has actually dropped by almost half in past 2 decades because of rapid economic growth and increased agricultural productivity. Central and East Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean have all made hunger progress in eradicating extreme hunger. So we see the positive change there as well. Undernourishment and severe food insecurity appears to be increasing in almost all regions of Africa as well as South America. We'll move on to the next slide as to how we can actually encounter these challenges. So, 1 in 8 people is undernourished. The monocrop culture is there, so that means that in cases of pest outbreaks and all, the crop is destroyed and we are left with no alternatives. Smallholder farmers, they are relying mostly on the natural resources, natural water in order for the irrigation of their crops and all. So how these challenges can be encountered: increasing in agricultural productivity and ensuring equitable access to all, that is including women in the workforce as well. Less reliant on the monocrop culture, that is there should be diversification in the plant so that if one crop is affected by the pest outbreak, we have at least other alternatives. And the obviously the bringing in more diversified workforce into the picture. Let's move on to goal number 3. Goal number 3 is good health and well-being. So basically, it focuses on ensuring healthy and promoting well-being, ensuring health and promoting well-being for all at all ages. So goal number 3 is important because we still have at least 400 million people who don't have access to basic healthcare, and there are more than 1.6 billion people living in fragile settings. Every 2 seconds, someone aged between 30 to 70 years dies prematurely from non communicable diseases like cancer, like there are different, AIDS, there are blood cancers, and these kind of diseases. 7 million people die every year from exposure to fine particles in polluted air. The lung diseases that we are seeing, obviously, COVID also infected lungs. So there are these kind of diseases that impact 7 million people every year. More than one of every 3 women have experienced violence in their lives, obviously. So that affects the overall physical and mental well being of women. Life expectancy has increased dramatically. Infant and maternal mortality rates have declined. We have turned the tide on HIV and malaria. And if we talk about Pakistan, obviously, when we make conscious efforts towards achieving some goal, we see reduction in numbers. Like we have worked in Pakistan, we have worked a lot on polio eradication now. We are polio free, right? So when we talk about HIV was on a higher side. Now with the efforts made globally, we have seen the decline in the numbers. Universal health coverage will be integral to achieving SDG 3, where ending poverty and reducing inequalities. If people are covered under more coverage of health, so definitely when they have to make a choice between food or healthcare, people will always make a choice to have to having food or as basic necessities like water and all. So if health coverage is there, at least the government or the society as a whole is taking care of their well-being. Now, this is something really interesting that there is a 31-year gap between the countries with the shortest and the longest life expectancies. That is a lot of difference. When we talk about shortest life expectancy, we see it mostly in African countries, Sudan, Somalia. We're talking about the age of 52 to 58 years. And the countries with the largest life expectancy, we're talking about Switzerland, Italy, Japan, and we're talking about the ages between 85 to 80 years. So there's a vast gap between the ages. Multi-sectoral rights based on gender-sensitive approaches are essential to address inequalities and to build a good health for all. Now we see the challenges and the solutions. Environmental factors kill millions of people every year. Pollution, chemical exposure, these are all the climate changes that we are encountering that is having an adverse effect on the society as a whole. Air pollution is also one of the major factors that is increasing the mortality rate in the countries. Avoid and reduce pollution. Uh, Create a healthier work environment, like work with energy and different sectors of the society to create solutions for the problems that we are encountering with respect to like lessen the industrial pollution, adopt cleaner energy to reduce the climate changes and all. We'll move on to the next slide. Quality education. Now, quality education is basically aims to provide inclusive and equitable quality education to everyone in the society. 57 million primary age children remain out of school. In developing countries, one in four girls is not in school, and 103 million youth worldwide lack basic literacy skills, and more than 60% of it are women. Now, whenever we talk about these goals or these challenges, there's a common factor that is women are more vulnerable to these things. Since 2000, there has been enormous progress in achieving the targets of universal primary education. The total enrollment rate in developing regions reached 91% in 2015, and the worldwide number of the children in school has dropped almost half. So, we also see some sort of improvement in these figures as well. The goal ensures that all girls and boys complete free primary and secondary schooling by 2030. We move on to the next slide. So when we talk about the challenges, 103 million youth worldwide lack basic literacy skills, and 60% of it are women. Lack of access to basic services such as water. Now, one can question how does the lack of basic services is having an impact on the quality education? Because if we see in the villages or in the suburb areas, people are deprived of clean drinking water. So what their children are doing, they are basically transporting waters from wells or lakes to their household. So they're helping their parents or the families out of it. So once we fix this infrastructure, we can see improvement in quality education as well, because the children, they'll be having some free time to go to the school as well. This might sound very basic, but this is also one of the very reasons we see low literacy rate in villages and suburb areas. Natural disasters such as floods and droughts obviously has a adverse effect in the quality education. I think I've already discussed the solutions to it, fixing the infrastructure and giving the equitable opportunities to the students and building a resilient children as well. We'll move on to the next slide. Gender equality, we see quite a lot of focus in the organizations as well. Every organization is working quite a lot. Now we see DE and I initiatives everywhere. So that is diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that forces organizations to have certain percentage of women in their workforce. Our KPIs are also designed in a way that we should be having people on disability quota. We should be having more women in the organization. So if we talk about some interesting facts, women earn only 77 cents for every dollar that men earns. So there's a discrimination in there as well. 35% women, that is one in every three, have experienced violence in any form, be it physical, be it mental, be it sexual, any form of violence. Women represent just 13% of agricultural land bearers. Now, UNDP has made gender equality central to its work, and we've seen remarkable progress in the past 20 years. Now, as I said, the organization is also shifting their focus in having more women in their workforce. There are more girls in school now compared to there are more girls in school now compared to 15 years ago, and most regions have reached gender parity in primary education. Although there are more women than ever in the labor market, there are still large inequalities in some of the regions where women systematically deny the same working rights as men. Sexual violence and exploitation is also one of the challenges women face, because of which, obviously, they face gender inequality, the unequal division of unpaid care and domestic work, the discrimination in the public offices, etc. We'll move on to the next slide. So the solutions to this is that recognize the importance of the role played by women, and granting them certain rights. Now we see there is also a certain shift in the culture as well, because previously, if we see, single women had to be dependent on as a guardian, a single woman cannot enroll herself. Now we see there are some laws being amended where a single woman can also be listed as a guardian for their children in their school. So these kind of initiatives obviously are important when we talk about gender diversity and equality. Support equal access to land and agriculture. Women should be given the opportunity to own land and agriculture, obviously, to have the equitable distribution in the society. Put in place. Okay, I was just reading the last point. Amber, if we can move back, please. Yes. Put in place gender friendly laws that I just spoke about. and instill a culture of equality, empowering women. Now we can move on to the next slide. So all in all, if we see, one might say that जो goals हैं, these are very generic in nature. But when we list down something, or when we collectively work towards the accomplishment of certain goals, that basically shifts the mindset of the people. So now organizations who are adopting, they are instilling these kind of things in their KPIs. Like I talk about, gender diversity, disability quota, इन सब चीज़ों की जब हम बात करते हैं, obviously तो जब आपके वो केपीआई में वो चीज शामिल हो जाती है, obviously you are bound to fulfill it, and it is having the positive effect in the society as a whole. So there are certain initiatives that we have taken at Karachi Marriott Hotel, because we are working quite a lot on sustainability as part of Marriott International, plus as part of our corporate office thing. So we have collaborated with Robin Hood Army, that is an NGO, to distribute free meals to the deprived on a daily basis. Now, daily basis, the representatives of Robin Hood Army, they come to our premises and we distribute free meals to the deprived ones. Free meals during Ramadan and other festivities, we are into these kind of initiatives as well. We are increasing the diversity ratio to employ more women in the hotel, and we are also fulfilling the lawful demands of the disability quota. We are compliant by it. We have replaced plastic bottles. You won't be seeing any plastic at Marriott Karachi. We have replaced plastic bottles with glass carafes, equipping the facility with our own washing and refilling facility. We have replaced our room amenities into more eco-friendly packaging. We have replaced our plastic hangers with the wooden hangers. We also have renovated our lobby to be having more sun exposure to save energy during the daytime. We have changed the takeaway boxes and the packaging into the sustainable, eco-friendly material. We are also working on introducing the organic food. This might take some time, obviously, but we are working on it. We have temperature set controls to conserve energy, and we have installed solar panels to produce our own electricity. And we have sensors to save energy and to conserve water. We have sensors in our taps that if it's unattended, it can save water as well. And we have also replaced plastic straws with disposable material. These were the few initiatives that we have taken at Karachi Marriott in order to be having a sustainable organization. I tried to be limited in my time. I hope I was able to do that. I'll hand over the session to you, Emmer.
Wonderful. Really appreciated the way you explained the things. Is really easy to understand to the attendees and for myself as well. And that is a wonderful slide for the for you can say for the positive impact you create by this slide, that your organization is taking care for something for SDGs. And I'm sure, because I have visited you as well. So you guys did not take these initiatives just for the sake of UN SDGs. You are taking these initiatives as your responsibility, and that is really wonderful to know. Again, thank you so much. So stay with us. We will be having some questions, and in the end, we
Sure.
will be having a panel discussion as well, because I have some questions for you related to gender equality. Okay,
Okay,
so
sure,
now
sure. We'd love to
moving
answer
to,
them at the end of the session.
thank you. Okay, now
Thank you.
moving to Badr Kareem.
Thank you, Emma, and thank you, Marine, for a great slide. So you just set the tone of the session. So yeah, so I hope I met the target what you set for. Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. मेरा नाम बदर करीम है. Currently, I'm working with Jerry's Renata Emirates Group's company as a head of quality and health and safety. So I had a long decade track record of working with different HSC and quality assurance management assignments. My experience have been across in different diverse industries, including oil and gas, pharmaceutical, and currently as I am working and associated with aviation industry. So I have been given assignment for the few of the targets and the goals of the SDGs. So starting from the clean water and sanitization. So I will be following the similar pattern, starting with a few facts around the each goal that I will be explaining you, and then I will be giving you quick summary of of how the specific SGD is being worked, and how the targets have been set by the United Nations to achieve the goals. So, starting with the cleaning water and sanitization, the quick fact is 71% of the global population, which is 5.2 billion people, had safely managed drinking water in 2015. But still, 844 million people lack with the basic drinking water. The another one, that's 39% of the global population, which are 2.9 billion people, had safe sanitization in 2015, but still 2.3 billion people still lacked with the basic sanitization. Uh, and another one was that 80% of the wastewater goes into the waterways without adequate treatment. So again, it's connected with the wildlife as well, and going the untreated water going to the water streams, it's creating the environmental impact as well. uh, Water stress affect more than 2 billion people, with this figure of projected to increase in upcoming years. 80% of the countries had laid the foundation for the integrated water management system and the resources management. World The world has lost 70% of its natural water land over the last century, and I think that's one of the critical and sensitive fact that where we are living. So just considering that's a very specific fact, that's very alarming. The United Nations have set few objectives and targets. Few of have them already been worked. By 2030, few targets including providing the adequate, accessible, and safe, affordable drinking water to all of the people, giving etiquette and equitable sanitization and hygiene for all, and open defecation, paying special attention to the needs of women and girls and those in vulnerable situation. And I think Marine have been very specifically mentioned about the need of the women and the girls in terms of water and basic sanitizations. And also there was another specific was related to the water quality by reducing the pollution, eliminating dumping, and minimizing the release of hazardous chemical and material, having the proportion of untreated wastewater, and substantially increasing the recycling and safe reuse. As I just mentioned before, the 80% to 80% of water is going untreated. So again, it's very connected that how we are treating rightly the wastewater that we are generating, and saving our water streams from the pollution getting more worse for our generations. Next slide, please, Emma. Okay, so the next slide is about another goal, the about affordable and clean energy. So few facts. Out of 1 out of 10 people still lack of electricity, and most lives in rural areas of the developing world, and more than half are in sub-Sahara Africa. Energy is by far main contributor to climate change. It accounts for 73% of human cause greenhouse gases. So it's very connected with the how the energy is being generated as a traditional manner, and it impacting the greenhouse gases and creating the increasing the temperature of our world where we are living. The energy efficiency is the key. The right efficiency policies could enable the world to achieve more than 40% of emission cut needed to reach its climate goal without new technology. That's very, again, as Marine mentioned, the few projects in the Marriott. So that's the need of how we work around the renewable energies manners, like the solar projects, water stream, using our water streams to generating the more renewable energies that we have in our countries. So that's how we can manage. Almost third of the world population, 2.8 billion, rely on the polluting and unhealthy fuels for the cooking. So again, it's very connected with the health and how we are getting exposed of unhealthy fuels and the cooking. As of 2017, 17.5% of the water was generated through the renewable resources, and I think this was the one of the positive fact that we as a world have been set our targets to achieve more and more to getting energy from the renewable resources. The renewable energy is a sector employed a record 11.5 million people in 2019. The change needs in energy production and used to achieve the Paris Agreement target of limiting the rise of temperature below 2000 can create 80 million jobs. Again, as we are creating an environment around the environmental or renewable energy methods, so it also creating the opportunities for the people. So as mentioned by the fact, we are estimating that 18 million jobs will be created around this industry, and so much work has been done around this specific clean energy goal, uh, and we still need to continue to achieve our targets that have been set by United Nations to achieve by 2030. Next slide, please, Emma. Thank you. So decent work and economic growth. So starting with a few facts, an estimated 172 million people worldwide were without work in 2018, and unemployment rate of 5%. So I think that number is just before the COVID. So we can imagine that how the COVID have been impacted our economic growth as well. And everybody is aware that it people lose their job during the COVID, and we still have few of the industries where we have a consequences that we can see in terms of employment rate and losing people their job. So that's a big number, and we still need to be very focused on how we growth our economy and having a decent work environment around. As a result of expanding labor force, the number of unemployed is projected to increase by 1 million every year and reach 174 million by 2020. And I think that's the number that we have been already crossed, especially after having the COVID. So that's another alarming fact that we have in this goal. The another one is some 700 million workers lived in extreme or moderate poverty in 2018, with less than 3.20 per day. And that's another one, the big one, big red area in terms of economic growth and employee benefit. For women participation in the labor force stood at the 48% in 2018, compared with the 75% for men. Around 3 in 5 of the 3.5 million people in the labor force in 2018 were men. So again, we just discussed of women diversity in earlier slide by Marine. So that's the area that we need to still continue on working around and getting more diversity between men and women in our workplaces. Overall, 2 billion workers were in formal employment in 2016, accounting for the 61% of the world workforce. Many more women than men are underutilized in the labor force, 85 million compared to the 55 million. And that's very connected with the early mentioned fact. So across the target, there have been 10-year framework that has been established by the United Nations to engage all the stakeholder and all of the influential organizations to impact on how they can generate the economy and also create the decent work and also the employment in terms of diversity as well. Next slide, please, Simon. Thank you. So my next goal was industry, innovation, and infrastructure. A few facts around is worldwide 2.3 billion people lack access to the basic sanitization, and that's very connected with my earlier one, that's water and sanitization clean services. Another one is in some low income African countries, infrastructure constraint cut businesses productivity by around 40%. It's similarly connected with, if you have a good infrastructure and the right tool to work, you get more effective or efficient in your work, and making your life more productive. So that's very connected with that. 2.6 billion people in developing countries do not have access to constant electricity, and and one of the country which is struggling is Pakistan as well, as you everybody know, with the load shedding. So we don't have a constant electricity services, and we are among these billion people. More than 4 billion people still do not have access to the internet. 90% of them are in the developing country. So that's again with the infrastructure and innovation. We talked a lot about the innovation, but the one of the basic things is to having the basic internet facility that should be provided. So still this is a critical one. The renewable energy sector currently employ more than 2.3 million people. The number could reach 20 million by 2030. I just talked about this fact before. In developing country, barely 30% of agriculture products undergo the industrial processing compared to the 98% high income countries. So that's very connected with the how the countries who more rely on the agriculture, working on providing end-to-end solution to the countries, especially who don't have that uh, natural resources to farming and other kind of services. So that's the another one fact that we have. And again, similar like other goals, UN have set few very structured goals around to achieve this specific agenda, especially promoting inclusive and sustainability industrialization. And by 2030, significant raise the industry share by employment and gross domestic product in line with the national circumstances, and double its share in the latest development countries. But I think COVID have just give kind of pause to these kind of development. But I have seen the few studies that the how we are booming again and creating the infrastructure and innovation around the industries and creating the employment for the people as well. Next slide, please, Sam. Thank you. Uh, so, so the last assignment was related to the reduce inequality. Few very red alerts that I've been mentioned as a fact. In 2016, 22% global income was received by the top 1% compared with the 10% of income of the bottom 50%. That's very tricky number, but again, so 1% top people is a best 22% contributor of global income. So again, it's connected with the how the equally growth and economy has been shared. That's related to that. In 1980, the top 1% had 16% of the global income. The bottom 50% had 8% of income. Compared to 1980, we have been improved, but again, that's something that's very connected with my previous shared the objective, where creating the infrastructure and having the opportunity across every business. The another one was related to economic inequality is larger driven by the unequal ownership of capital since 1980. Very large transfer of public to the private wealth occurred in the nearly all countries. All the global wealth share of the top 1% was 33% in 2016. The another one is under the business as usual, the top 1% global wealth will reach 39% by 2050. So this is again very alarming in terms of creating the equality around the opportunities. That's very kind of red alert in terms of uh, creating the equality across the global wealth and the businesses. Women spend on average twice as much as time on the unpaid housework as men. So that's connected with the woman empowerment that we discussed before. The another one related to women have as much has access to the financial services as men in just 50% of the countries assessed, and to land ownership in just 42% of the country assessed. And again, it's how we are creating the equal opportunity for the both women and men's in and how we are planning that gender diversity in the businesses, with the addition to the infrastructure and the innovation we will be creating across all of our businesses models that we are running. So that's and that the United Nations have set few very aggressive kind of objectives and the goals around to to fix that things, including that how they are empowering and promoting the social, economic, and political inclusion of all, irrespective of age, sex, disability, race, ethnicity, origin, religion, or economic or other status. So, but just because my slides are finished, so just to give you a quick brief, just to the tune set by Marine. So, Jerry Sonata as a business leading the ground handling for the Pakistan business. We and that I will be answering the one of the question I have seen on the screen, how the businesses can work on the sustainability development goals. So what we have done practically in Jerisnata, that we have set our robust plan around all of the goals that is connected to our industry. So the first thing is we need to connect our industry what contribution we can make on any specific goal. So after shortlisting all of the goals which is related to our industry and specific to our company, then we prepare a plan against them. And we have done so much in terms of supporting not only the United Nations but also giving more internal driven strategy in terms of becoming more sustainable business. There are few initiatives, like we are so much in the renewable and green energy, like the solar installation. The another key one is we are working on the electric vehicles, where we are getting the opportunities and talking to the vendors how the existing carbon or the diesel based equipment can be replaced with the electric one. And also around the system and other things, that we are working on few of the certification, like one of our building in Lahore, which is our cargo export warehouse, is a lead in environmental certification. And this year we have been working on and by end of this year we will be inshallah achieving WWF certification around the green office building as well. And there are few, I would say, there's so many projects that we are working around that SGD plan that we have. And then we have been ensuring that we achieve and we contribute our best to promote that SGD across, not only in the company but also in the industry and the country as well. Thank you, Amal. Uh, I think we have lost Emma here. So thank you, everyone. So if you would be having any question, I think we will be taking at the last of the meeting. So we have Amar back. So Amar, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Badr. The experience you have already with the industry, with the implementation of these SDGs are played a vital role during your speaking. And thank you once again. Or we will be taking some questions in the end of the session. And it's my turn to discuss few of the SDGs. I'm not much competent, unlike the other speakers, to talk on this matter, but I will try my best to talk about these SDGs but not really the you can say, I will give you some examples that how we can do this. Rather, I'm reading what is that mean. So I will initially start with my introduction. I myself is Ahmad Mirza. I am currently serving as a head of training and advisory services at CIC Pakistan. I am also visiting faculty at a private university. As far as my qualifications are concerned, I have done my MSc in Administrative Sciences. As far as my technical qualifications are concerned, I am a certified lead auditor and tutor on a couple of ISO standards, which include quality, environment, health and safety, information security, business continuity, risk management, and some couple of other ISO standards as well. I'm also a certified trainer from UK, USA, and Canada, and overall, I have 12 years of working experience. So this is my brief introduction. Let's move on to the topic. So my slide is related to sustainable cities and communities. What does it mean? क्या मतलब है sustainable cities से क्या मुराद है? इसमें चार चीजें आ जाती हैं. There are four categories. First is inclusive, second is safe, third one is resilience, and fourth one is sustainable. By these four stages, we can achieve the sustainable cities and communities requirements which are mentioned in UN SDGs. If I give you an example, there is a city of Stockholm, Sweden, is known for its inclusive urban planning. The best thing they do, the city actively involves in citizens in decision making processes. For instance, you can understand like this: residents are encouraged to participate in the online forums and community meetings to share their ideas about. So basically, ये मे बी अगर मुश्किल हो रहा है समझने में लोगों को, सो हम इसको थोड़ा सा इजी करके समझते हैं. अब अगर मैं थोड़ा सा बैक जाऊं, व्हेन वी वर यंग, सो व्हाट वाज द बेनिफिट व्हेन वी वर टेकिंग आवर एजुकेशन? What is the reason that UN make these 7 SDGs? It's for a better future that our second generation, our third generation is going to face. Now what we are doing, we are destroying this world by our wrong practices, daily wrong practices. This is not something which come from the clouds, these 7 SDGs. These are the things which our parents told us, that we have to do this, we do not have to do this. So by our wrong practices, by following the wrong practices, we are you can say we are destroying destroying this planet. And in 2015, UN along with their 193 countries, which is including Pakistan, and Ministry of Foreign Affairs talks from Pakistan and to the UN. So they came together and developed these 7 SDGs to save our planet. So every speaker is talking about different things: gender equality, sustainable, clean, and other things as well. So they are talking about that our practices, our daily routine should be as is ideally. What does it mean? It means that हम जो चीज़ें गलत यूज़ कर रहे हैं, हम कचरा पानी का इस्तेमाल ज़्यादा कर रहे हैं, वेस्ट कर रहे हैं चीज़ों को, हम जहाँ रह रहे हैं, वेयर वी आर लिविंग, हम उन चीज़ों को साफ नहीं रखते, क्लीन नहीं रखते, हम चीज़ों का बहुत ज़्यादा वेस्ट करते हैं. तो इन चीज़ों को रोकने के लिए जो 11 SDG है, सस्टेनेबल सिटीज़ एंड कम्युनिटीज़, ये बनाया गया है. और ये बात करता है कि किस तरह से रिहाइश गाहें होनी चाहिए, एरियाज कैसे होने चाहिए, क्लीन होने चाहिए, रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी होनी चाहिए, और किस तरह से आपने रहना है. और इसमें जो मेन पार्ट प्ले करता है, वो प्ले करता है फीडबैक. The communities we have living in certain areas, there should be some sort of unions where people can speak and give their word of mouth to the unions, to the central body, and they can act accordingly. So this is related to sustainable cities and communities. Second is responsible consuming and production. So let's understand what is responsible consuming and consumption. This is basically 12 SDG established by United Nations. Number one is waste management and recycling. For example, San Francisco, USA, has implemented an extensive recycling and composting program. The city achieved a recycling rate of approximately 80% by curbsides, composing, mandatory recycling, public awareness campaigns. The second one is circular economy. What does it mean? It means that there are companies in many countries we who accept their product in return when it is not working. For example, there is a country in Netherlands and there is a brand, I don't know its name, but when you use the clothes and you want to destroy it, so they have a policy that you can give your used clothes to us and we will be compensating you in this way. So these initiatives are not supposed to take just because of the UN SDGs. These are the responsibility because we have to live on this planet. Our generations, future generations have to live on our planet. So my third part is climate action is real and we are already facing it. You can see the weather is changing around the world. There is different weather. When I remember I was young, by the way I am still young, but I was much younger when so there was some months like in December or November it was so cold, but nowadays it's not too cold. So this is the weather change. And why the weather change is going on? Due to the wrong practices. Again, we are burning coal, we are releasing the emissions in the air, we are releasing waste through water and without controlling it, that it should not harm the earth or soil as well. So these are the things which are disturbing the climate. The ACs we are using in our cars, in our offices, the refrigerators we are using in our daily routines, so they all are releasing some kind of emissions, and that is impacting the climate, and they ultimately change impact us as well. You already know I have covered this in some other webinars as well, that there is a ozone layer around us which protect us from the UV rays of the sun, which are very harmful for us. So if we are damaging the ozone layer, so definitely the harmful rays will damage us, and eventually it will impact our beauty and our health as well. So this is from my side. I tried not to talk too much about these because these are already available on the website. I just try to give you an idea that what it talks about, what 11, 12, and 13 talks about. So now I am handing over to Zara. She is our last speaker. Then after that, we will be having a feedback session, or you can say a panel discussion as well. So over to you, Zara.
थैंक यू सो मच एमर एंड आई थिंक यू डन अ ब्रिलियंट जॉब जिस तरह आपने समझाया है सब लोगों को एंड समराइज्ड एंड मेरीन एंड बदर आई एम गोइंग टू बी कंटिन्यूइंग ऑन दैट बिल्डिंग ऑन दैट और मेरी कोशिश ये होगी बिकॉज ये लास्ट 4 गोल्स हैं जो मैंने डिस्कस करने हैं सो टू समराइज to explain and to focus on what we as individuals can actually do because ये points ऐसे हैं कि जो हर चीज ये एक summary sort of है plus for us to realize how interconnected each and everything is, each and every goal is, and how it impacts us individually. What are these goals about? Like all of them have explained, but these are 17 goals with 169 targets. So somebody somewhere realized कि कुछ something's going wrong, right? The UN body, the people in power, so they thought कि यार this world is not going in the direction where we need to be going, right? The issue here mainly is that it is depleting our natural resources are depleting at a much higher rapid rate. So that is something we need to do about. So I'm here to talk to you about this. A little introduction about myself. आप read भी कर सकते हैं slide के ऊपर से. So I have about 15 years of experience in Pakistan and now I am in Bahrain. I have worked with top 2 banks for most of my career. in the internal audit, HR, compliance, operational risk field. So last I was in Pakistan, a talent acquisition specialist. Now in Bahrain, I head the HR department of a local Bahraini company, which is an asset management company. I have been, I would say, lucky that in UBL, when I was here in Bahrain, I was actually responsible for the sustainability development initiatives that we needed to take. We will go in a little more detail in that कि हमने क्या किया और क्या हम मजीद कर सकते हैं. So, Emmer, can we move on to the next slide? I will just deep dive in, considering the shortage of time here. So, my topics are goals 14 to 17. First one is going to be life below water. So, oceans, seas, हम देख रहे हैं कि हैं, right? It covers 99% of the Earth's volume. आप अगर space से हम गए तो नहीं है, but when you see the picture of Earth, it's like a blue ball, right? तो वो क्या है? वो सारा पानी है. And अगर पानी है, तो problem क्या है, right? So issues on problems ये हैं कि the oceans, seas are our largest aquatic ecosystem. Ecosystem क्या है? Where there is biodiversity, millions of species oceans के अंदर हैं जो कि are struggling to survive because of the pollution, because of the plastic waste, because of overfishing. So ये सारे problems ocean के level को increase कर रहे हैं. Ocean जो है, just to understand the severity of it, the oceans basically provide livelihood to millions of people, right? There's tourism, there's jobs associated. Being in Pakistan, आपको पता है ports की क्या importance है. Karachi wale know the importance of seaside, right? So all of it impacts our lives in different ways. Every drop of water that you consume and every breath of air that you take is connected to the life in the oceans, right? सबसे बड़ा carbon sink for this entire planet is an ocean, where the oceans absorb 30% of the carbon emissions that are emitted through man-made, problems, factories, जो भी toxics हम ocean के अंदर डाल रहे हैं. So basically, like Emmer said, that man is destroying the planet at a rate which is very rapid and has exceeded to all the percentages that were predicted for a sustainable world, right? तो हम इस planet को, इस world को एक ideal state में लेके जाना चाहते हैं, ठीक है? Where we see a vision of how the world should be. What levels of poverty should be there? What levels of hunger do we need to eliminate? So सारे targets, goals जो explain किए गए हैं पहले, उनको हमने achieve करना है by 2030, right? How do we do that? Specifically for life below water, अगर हम देखें तो हमें अपने oceans को किस तरह conserve करना है, कैसे contribute करना है at an individual level. Emmer, next slide. I think Emmer is not here. Here, okay. So basically, stop using toxic chemicals. How do we stop using toxic chemicals? Factories are doing it. ठीक है, हम factory owner तो नहीं है, decision making power हमारी नहीं है. But the deodorants you use, the products you use, what kind of emissions go out. So we have to be more aware of the kind of products we use. उसके label पढ़ें, ठीक है? Time लगाएं देखने के लिए कि आप क्या खरीद रहे हैं. What shopping are you doing, right? What kind of products are you doing? Is the company that you support or buy from, does it support sustainability development, right? Watch your water, most important, right? ये तो हमें कब से बताया गया है कि you have to be careful about, instead of taking long hot baths, take a quick shower, encourage your children to do that, right? So it's starting from home, where you as a person are going to create awareness among the people around you, right? So drinking water, don't waste water. plus choti choti plastic ki bottles, that is the most impactful area, plastic. So jo shopping bags hain, jo bottles hum use kar rahe hain, instead of using small individual plastic bottles, use sustainable material where you refill those bottles, right? This is the first step to start with water conservation. Then be smart about shopping, like I said, right? Am I still on that slide? So again, be smart about your shopping, because the products you use, the waste that's going to go in is going to land into the sea, is going to be dumped in the sea. So you don't want to kill the marine life there, right? So you have to be responsible about what you're doing. Beach cleaning, आपने देखा होगा बहुत सारी companies अब beach cleaning पे जाती हैं. So it's not just an activity for fun. It's because this is creating so much of a havoc for the oceans that now आप देखते होंगे कि heat wave आती है जी. Why is there a heat wave? Because the ocean is unable to regulate the climate in the effective way that it used to do. Why is that happening? Because ये सारी चीजें मिल के एक impact create कर रही हैं, जो कि oceans अब अपने आप को, you see more hurricanes, you see more rain, and also you're not able to conserve that rainwater. Especially in Pakistan, जहाँ आप शोर मचाते हैं कि जी डैम बनाओ. So why is that? Because the water that you are getting, the excessive rains, you are not able to conserve it in any way. So you end up wasting all of that water as well. So going forward, for our other generations to come, we have to start now. Also, to start now, the fact that we're already late, right? So we're in a year, or we're at a stage where the damage is already done. अब हमें उस damage को slow करना है, रोक तो हम सकते नहीं हैं. So we have to basically do whatever we can to slow this effect down. Next slide. It's coming to goal 15, very interrelated to the ecosystem. So that was the aquatic ecosystem. This is sustainability on land. So basically, आप देख रहे होंगे कि अब these are impacts that you can actually see, right? And this is where you see forest fires happening more than ever before, right? Your soil is no more irrigation, it's desertification. So it's all of that. And agriculture हमने इतना ज़्यादा overly कर लिया है अपने आप को sell करने के लिए, कि हमने land को इस तरह use किया है कि it's no more, you cannot aggregate on that land anymore. So it's affecting the trees. आपने देखा होगा, again, to see an impact that even in Pakistan, जो पूरी drive चली to plant trees, why are we doing that? Because we're cutting down so many more trees and not planting anymore, that the ecosystem is getting affected. So it's going to bring you more natural disasters, and you don't want that, right? Climate control, again, heat waves आपके सिर्फ इस वजह से नहीं आ रहे because of ocean, but because आपने land के aquatic system, land के ecosystem को इतना ज़्यादा impact कर दिया है कि अब आप you can't control it anymore. So the climate is reacting in ways to show you that you need to do something to improve it. So what can we do? Next slide. Well, first of all, plant more trees, right? I'm sure aap sab ne, it was a government initiative to part liya hoga, but it's never enough, right? Because once you plant a tree, it takes years to grow. So the more you plant, the better. So encourage your children to do so, अपने backyard में करें. And अब तो मैंने देखा है कि even because of inflation, people have started growing vegetables in their backyards. Like, it's more organic, it's safe, saves you from pesticides, all of that. So why is that? These are all practices that we have to include in our daily lives to actually help the earth, right? Reduce, reuse, recycle. This is a mantra everybody should be saying and repeating everywhere you go. So reduce consumption is anything you are consuming in terms of product, in terms of food, in terms of anything else, you think लेने से पहले सोचें कि क्या इसकी ज़रूरत है, कितना लेने की ज़रूरत है, and then to reuse, right? In small things, आप अपने पास प्लास्टिक के बार hand washes ना खरीदें. Get a big pouch and then fill a ceramic hand wash dish with it, right? So things like that. Every little measure that you take is going to contribute to the larger interest of this cause, right? And we have to realize our own responsibility, right? हर चीज गवर्नमेंट ने नहीं करनी है, गवर्नमेंट ने इनिशिएटिव्स लिए हैं एंड आई एम गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट दैट एज वेल, बट यहाँ पे हम ये रियलाइज कर रहे हैं कि what is it that we can do, right? And recycle, बहुत सारा अब इनिशिएटिव आई एम श्योर पाकिस्तान में भी होगा, इज दैट रिसाइकलिंग बिन्स जो हैं वो अब ग्लास की अलग, plastic ki alag, and the recyclable material is different, right? So that you separate it and it's easier to recycle. So that is what you have to teach your children, what that is what you have to teach your family. घर में उसको इसी तरह करके discard करें so that it's easier, and obviously reuse whatever you can. Conserve water, बर्तन धोते हुए पानी बचाएं, नहाते हुए पानी बचाएं, you know, any little practice that you're doing at home, see what you're doing, be conscious about it, right? Every drop you save, imagine the millions and billions of people saving one drop, how much is that going to contribute, right? So that is the level of awareness that you need to have. Conserve energy in terms of जिस कमरे में नहीं बैठे लाइट का स्विच ऑफ करें, राइट? पाकिस्तान में तो बिजली के बिल वैसे इतने आ रहे हैं कि everybody has to be forcefully conscious about it, but it's a practice that we should have started years ago, right? We should have been more conscious because हमें energy conserve करनी है. Load shedding क्यों हो रही है? गैस की लोड शेडिंग हो रही है, बिजली की लोड शेडिंग हो रही है, you know, anything and everything, because these resources have already depleted to a level where we have to take these drastic measures to save onto them, right? So all of us have to contribute where we are conscious. हम क्या करें? बदर ने बात की इलेक्ट्रिकल कार्स की, right? Why? To conserve the fossil fuel, to conserve the fuel energy. We're not there yet where we want to be, because electric use itself जो है वो एक expensive cause है, उसकी batteries की cost काफी ज़्यादा आती है और energy लेती है. But we're taking steps, everybody in their own capacity, especially the businesses have become conscious enough to take those decisions. Travel sustainably. Now, what does that mean? कारपूल करें, ठीक है जी. आई डोंट नो पाकिस्तान में कितना सेफ है या वेदर कितना अलाउ करता है, बहरीन में तो थोड़ा मुश्किल ही है टू टेक द बाइसिकल, राइट? ईजियर सेड देन डन, बट थोड़ी सी वॉक करें, राइट? टू गो टू अ स्टोर नियर योर हाउस, you don't have to go in a car every time, right? Encourage your children to walk. Definitely keeping safety in mind, I will not propagate that too much, but अपने लेवल पे क्या कर सकते हैं? जो कंपनीज ने करना शुरू किया है कि हर मीटिंग के लिए ट्रैवल नहीं कर रहे, we're having online mediums, right? अब तो everything is online, so reducing travel, not just because to reduce the cost, but to reduce the use of energy. जितना फ्यूल कंज्यूम होता है, जितनी emissions एक एरोप्लेन के उड़ने से होती है, so it's huge, right? So if you can contribute to saving that, well and good, right? Next. So this is a bit of a more complicated goal, where I would say some goals are simple, where you know directly what needs to be done, and some goals are where you need the communities, where you need government, where you need institutions at large to actually work towards it. This goal is close to everybody's heart right now, I'm sure, because peace is something that we are all propagating right now. हम देख रहे हैं आजकल क्या हालात हैं, Ukraine war, Palestine, you know, it's something our heart goes out to. So what can we do? Again, yeah, ठीक है, initiatives governments ले रही हैं, they're talking about it, they're trying to get a ceasefire, you know, हर चीज का एक अलग impact है, but what is it actually doing? When there is no peace, you can't progress. When there is peace, you're undergoing trauma. Imagine, वो तो गुजर ही रहे हैं जो उस चीज को फेस कर रहे हैं, but our children, ourselves, watching those images, what kind of trauma are we going through, right? It doesn't motivate us to go and take on the day, it pulls us down, right? Because you want to be able to do something about this situation. So yeah, on a global level, something has to be done about it, because the whole world, these goals are not just specific to few countries, it is for the entire world. And how can we contribute? We can really contribute by being more aware, by being more opinionated, by giving your opinion, by spreading the right word, being right about it, right? Not being judgmental, not being biased, but knowing what is right and propagating that. Justice, strong institutions, this is definitely more on the government level. But if you are in countries where you have a say, people come out on streets and they have a say, right? The governments are forced to take on actions because of public opinion, right? So if you are there, make sure you voice your opinions. Can we move to the next slide, Emma? So again, these are again larger scale, right? If you go through them, हम इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे ये नहीं कर सकते, बट हम इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे ये कर सकते हैं कि हम दूसरों को जज नहीं करें, बी टॉलरेंट टुवर्ड्स ईच अदर, you know, be conscious about not doing wrong to contribute to this in a goal initiative, right? आप अपने work places पे be ethical, consider your moral obligations, right? Don't work towards ending corruption. So at your own level, right, you can always contribute. ऐसा नहीं है कि वो जंग हो रही है और जंग ही खत्म होगी तो पीस हो जाएगा सारा. No, every little thing contributes towards peace, towards justice. If you are at a level of decision making power, make sure you being equal to everybody, you being fair to everyone. That's how societies are made, right? That's how the impact is going to start from a smaller level and go up to a larger level, right? So be fair, be, अगर आप कोई product बेच रहे हैं तो उसमें अपने profit levels को इस तरह रखें कि you're actually being fair to people, right? And you're not looting them. So especially goes out for Pakistan, where people have to be more loyal towards each other, right? Towards our country. So these are some things that we have to talk about, raise awareness, and help the society make these decisions in a collective manner. Next slide. So this comes to the last goal. I'm going to talk about this goal specifically also and wrap up the discussion. I just want to say this is partnership for goals, right? Multi-stakeholder partnerships, at a global level partnerships जो हो रही हैं, उसकी different targets हैं. ये मैंने सारे targets नहीं डाले हैं because every goal actually has like about 10, 12, 18 targets. So it would have been too much on the slide. You guys can always read on the UN website. But just to give you a brief about what it talks about, right? So partnerships are, first outlook goes कि यार partnerships तो again stakeholders ने करना है, companies ने करना है, businesses ने करना है, so what role do we play, right? I just want to let you know that as individuals, आप अपने आप को एक इंसान तो समझते हैं कि यार मेरा एक individual effort है, but you are in a home where you have people around you. It may be your spouse, your children, you're creating awareness there. As a brother or a sister, you're creating awareness in the house, another family house, right? As children, you're creating awareness at your parents' house. So these are so many families. As friends, you can sit and talk about these where you influence more people, right? At your workplace, as an employee, you may be in a decision-making capacity जहां आप initiatives ले सकते हैं जो कि इस cause को help करेंगे. How do you do that? Okay, I would just like to also brief कि कुछ companies ने, जैसे hospitality का मेरीन ने बहुत अच्छा initiative बताया. I've been to a few hotels इधर Middle East में and Europe side पे भी. So what I've seen is कि toothbrushes भी जो हैं अब वो wooden material के हैं, biodegradable materials, right? And they write a little note on your bedside table that the bed sheets not need to be washed every time, or the towels that you need washing need to be placed here specifically because we are not going to be washing all of them, right? तो ये क्या हो रहा है? ये water conservation हो रही है जिसके अंदर ये hospitality industry अपना part play कर रही है, right? And it has been very effective because millions and millions of people use these facilities on a daily basis. So they are contributing to a society, and you can imagine because जो goals हमने discuss किए उसमें positive impacts भी थे. So it's not all doom and gloom, right? It's something that we all are working and striving towards. Banking industry अगर आप देखें तो परसों ही मैंने I came across this little news where one of the top banks in Pakistan has signed up with UN that we will play a part in reducing emissions, right? To make sure कि हमारे end से जो emissions है वो at a level एक दिन में नहीं होगा, but reaches in these years. So people are committing to these goals at a very larger scale as well. Banking industry में no paper culture, right? Go green policies are being implemented, जहां आप अपने environment को ज़्यादा इस तरीके से हैंडल कर रहे हैं कि आप उसमें contribute कर सकें. आप हर पेपर को प्रिंट आउट ना करें, right? You don't have to do that. So these are little एक पेपर में कितनी ट्रीज की कटिंग जाती है, right? So if you research on it, so this is something which you contribute to, which everybody is doing. The more we are aware of every decision that we are taking, the more we are contributing to this cause, right? Again, businesses, अगर मैं आपको बहरीन का बताऊं तो यहाँ पे एक पॉलिसी लास्ट ईयर इम्प्लीमेंट हुई है, which is environmental sustainability governments. So every company has to follow, every company has to take measures, and in the end every company is going to be given a score. Accountability is also there. ठीक है, ये सिर्फ चॉइस नहीं है कि आप करना चाहे तो करें. So every company is going to be given a score, ESG score, where the consumers will be able to see कि कौन सी कंपनी उस चीज को अच्छा फॉलो कर रही है और कौन सी कंपनी उसको नहीं फॉलो कर रही है. And that is why how the consumer trend can be shifted towards more sustainably responsible organizations. So it is a measure that the government is taking. Amar ne wastage ki baat ki. You will be, I'm not sure if you'll be surprised or not, but मिडिल ईस्ट में फूड वेस्टेज जो यूएन के नंबर्स के हिसाब से इज द हाईएस्ट. बहरीन टॉप्स द लिस्ट ऑफ फूड वेस्टेज. ओके, आप सिनेमा में मूवी देखने जाए तो इतना बड़ा बैनर आता है, डोंट वेस्ट फूड, यू नो. हर जगह पे दे आर ट्राइंग टू टेल पीपल टू कंज्यूम ओनली एज मच एज यू वांट, राइट? एंड कुछ रेस्टोरेंट्स ने अब ये इनिशिएटिव स्टार्ट किए कि अगर यू गॉट लेफ्ट ओवर फूड इन योर प्लेट, यू पे एक्सेस टू टेक इट विद यू और यू हैव टू फिनिश इट. सो ये सब मेजर्स क्या हैं? ये सब अपनी अपनी छोटी कैपेसिटी में कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं टू दीज गोल्स, एंड वी आर ऑल पार्ट ऑफ दिस planet. We are living here. We have to give this world, hand it over to the next generations, and so we would like to make it a better place for everybody, for the ones who are here and for the ones who are going to be living here. So I hope this has been informative, and over to you, Amal.
Thank you, wonderful Zahra. I personally enjoyed your session, and it was very wonderful and knowledgeable, easy to understand. So I'll be having a small discussion with all the panelists and 2 questions from the feedbacks from the attendees. Acha, because we are living in Pakistan, we love Pakistan, we love all the countries as well. So हमारे अंदर क्या मिसिंग है? Why we are missing? What we are missing? मैं इंडस्ट्री की बात नहीं कर रहा, मैं बात कर रहा हूँ एज अ ह्यूमन बीइंग, वाइल एट होम, वाइल इन द नेबरहुड. मैं क्या प्रॉब्लम? अब स्वीडन इज अ लीडर इन लो एमिशंस, ठीक है. वहां स्वीडन एक वो कंट्री है, डेनमार्क, आई एम सॉरी, डेनमार्क वो कंट्री है जो जहाँ पे सबसे ज्यादा साइकिल्स चलाई जाती हैं. वहां पे अवॉइड किया जाता है ट्रांसपोर्टेशन को, पर्सनल कार्स यूज करने को. पाकिस्तान में मैं साइकिल नहीं चला सकता क्योंकि मुझे पता मैं चलाऊंगा वो मोबाइल छीनने आ जाएगा, मैं कैसे भागूंगा, ठीक है. तो एंड दिस इज रियल, दिस इज नॉट अ जोक. सही है. जहरा ने बात करी कि वी कैन प्लांट एट अवर होम. आई रियली वांट टू डू प्लांटिंग, यू नो. मुझे पता मैं एक प्लांट लगाऊंगा घर के बाहर, कल वहां पे थैंक यू का बोर्ड लगा होगा, वो गमला नहीं होगा, ठीक है. तो एक होते हैं ऑब्जेक्टिव्स और एक होता है स्ट्रक्चर, ठीक है. अगर मैं किसी को बोलूं कि आपने एक प्रेजेंटेशन बनानी है और मैं ना उसको कंप्यूटर दूं, मैं ना उसको इंटरनेट दूं, तो हाउ ही और शी गोना अचीव दैट ऑब्जेक्टिव? सो वी हैव यूएन ऑब्जेक्टिव्स, but we are not complying with the basic structure that will help. Now in Pakistan, many females are working in our office as well. There is no single system available in Pakistan for females. We boys can ride on bikes easily. There is no respected transportation system for women. There is no metro, there is no buses by the government where women can travel respectedly. So in Pakistan, what we can do and what we have, so मैंने अपना थोड़ा सा नजरिया दिया है. I would like Mehreen to input something.
जी, Amar correctly said, but I think now there is a gradual shift in the mindset. जैसे आपने female transportation system की बात की, now we do have pink buses in Karachi, which is for females only, and that is driven by female drivers as well. So वही वाली बात होती है कि once we are mindful in putting conscious efforts towards certain goals, तो फिर हम छोटे छोटे steps लेते हैं जो कि contribute करती हैं overall एक society में. सो फीमेल्स की अगर हम बात करें तो डेफिनेटली फीमेल्स को हमारे यहाँ पे ज़्यादा चैलेंजेस होते हैं. अगर आप पब्लिक बसेस में देखें तो इक्वली डिवाइडिंग हुई भी होती है सीटिंग कैपेसिटी, फीमेल्स को एक बहुत छोटा पोर्शन दिया हुआ होता है. अदर देन दैट, जिस किस्म की हेरासमेंट और इन चीज़ों का सामना फीमेल्स को करना पड़ता है, मैन आर नॉट अवेयर ऑफ इट. सो ये एक तरह के ये सारे हिंड्रेंसेस होते हैं, ऑब्स्टिकल्स होते हैं। एक फीमेल को माशरे में कंट्रीब्यूट करने के लिए या जॉब्स वगैरह करने के लिए मर्दों के मुकाबले में कहीं ज़्यादा चैलेंजेस का सामना होता है। तो
Yes.
और इंडिविजुअल जो जब हम उसकी ओनरशिप की बात करते हैं, सो हमारे अंदर जो चीज़, ऑब्वियसली हम हर चीज़ में कंट्रीब्यूट नहीं कर सकते। देयर आर सर्टेन थिंग्स, देयर आर सर्टेन इनिशिएटिव जिसमें गवर्नमेंटल लेवल पे काम करना होता है, बट हम इंडिविजुअल कैपेसिटी में क्या चीज़ें कर सकते हैं? हम इंडिविजुअल कैपेसिटी में वी शुड बी वॉचिंग आवर एक्शंस। जैसे जहरा ने पॉइंट आउट किया राइटली कि हम कितना पानी वेस्ट कर रहे होते हैं। एक बहुत कॉमन प्रैक्टिस है कि पाकिस्तान में आप लोग गाड़ियों में जा रहे होंगे, आपने शीशा नीचे किया एंड यू थ्रो द गार्बेज आउट ऑन द स्ट्रीट।
Yes. Very
You
common.
won't be doing it when you are there in Dubai या किसी ऐसे कंट्री में। यहाँ पे पीस भी आ जाता है, यहाँ पे जस्टिस वाली चीजें भी आ जाती हैं कि ऑब्वियसली दूसरे कंट्रीज में आप इसलिए भी नहीं कर रहे होते बिकॉज यू विल बी पनिश्ड, आपके ऊपर फाइन्स होंगे, वो सारी चीजें होंगी। बट व्हाई आपके एक्शंस को सिर्फ जो है वो पनिशमेंट ही क्यों ड्राइव करती है? व्हाई देयर इज नॉट दैट सेंस ऑफ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इन यू? जो चीज़ आप अपने घर में अपने लिए नहीं करते, वो आप बाहर जाके रोड्स पे क्यों करते हैं? सो आई थिंक इसमें कंट्रीब्यूट करने के लिए, अगर आप ऑब्वियसली आप बड़े गोल्स में पार्टिसिपेट नहीं कर सकते, बट इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे ही अगर आप पोल्यूशन को रेडिकेट करने में, पानी को कंजर्व करने में, बिजली को कंजर्व करने में, बहुत सारी चीज़ें तो हमारे ऊपर ऐसी आ गई हैं कि हमें माइंडफुल होना पड़ रहा है। जैसे बिजली के बिल, तो हमें देखना पड़ता है कि जी पीक आवर्स कब हैं, पीक आवर्स कब नहीं हैं। तो ये सारी चीज़ें अब हमें इसलिए देखनी पड़ी क्योंकि जब वक्त था इन चीज़ों को कंजर्व करने का, तो हमने उस वक्त मुनासिब एक्शन नहीं लिए। सो अब बाय फोर्स हमें वो चीज़ें कंप्लाई करनी पड़ी, जो अगर हम वक्त से पहले जिनके बारे में अगर माइंडफुल होते तो शायद ये वक्त हमें नहीं देखना पड़ता।
Thank you once again, Merin. Yes, Babar, if you have any feedback related to our, regular life, what we can contribute.
Yes, thanks, Amar. I think I just had a session yesterday, and वहाँ पर मैंने एक चीज सीखी थी. People like us do think like this. इसको आसान लफ्जों में अगर मैं बात करूँ कि हम जैसे देखना चाहते हैं दुनिया को, हमें वो प्रैक्टिसेस करना शुरू कर देना चाहिए. सो इट्स ऑलवेज कि हम क्या करते हैं कि हम लोगों को इन्फ्लुएंस करने के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा फोकस रखते हैं. अक्सर हमारी डिस्कशंस भी ऐसी होती हैं, वी टॉक इन अ वे कि वी इन्फ्लुएंस पीपल, but we somehow lacking with the individual actions as well. हमारा जो इंडिविजुअल कंट्रीब्यूशन है, जैसे अभी बात की कि यार गाड़ी का शीशा नीचे करके आपने प्लांट लगाने की बात की, वेस्टेज को अच्छे तरीके से मैनेज करने, पानी कम इस्तेमाल करने. सो बहुत सारी ये ऐसी मिसालें हैं जो स्टार्ट होती हैं इंडिविजुअली,
Yes.
इंडिविजुअल कैपेसिटी से, एंड इट्स
Yes.
ड्राइव टुवर्ड सिस्टम. आई अंडरस्टैंड वो जो आपने सिस्टमैटिक इश्यूज बताए कि हम बहुत सारे ऐसे लेगेसी सिस्टम्स में रह रहे हैं जहां पर हम जनरेशन ट्रांसफर लेगेसी पे बात ही नहीं करते हैं. हमने अक्सर बहुत सारी मिसालें देखी होंगी कि कोई एक शख्स है, वो एक सिस्टम को रन कर रहा होता है, वो जैसे ही उस सिस्टम से कहीं और जाता है वो सिस्टम डाउन हो जाता है. क्यों? क्योंकि उसने अपनी इंडिविजुअल लेगेसी पे तो बहुत अच्छे से काम किया, बट उसने सिस्टम को इस तरह एस्टैब्लिश नहीं किया कि वो जनरेशंस तक उसके इम्पैक्ट्स रहे. तो आई थिंक स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम इंडिविजुअल कंट्रीब्यूशन, जैसे हम चाहते हैं कि आंखों से कि दुनिया कैसी हो, वैसे हम प्रैक्टिसेस करना शुरू कर दें, तो इफ एवरीबॉडी इज डूइंग द सेम थिंग इन देयर लाइफ, so everything eventually we will see the change in across our daily lives as well.
Thank you. Very wonderful and attractive. Yes, Zahra, आप पानी को तो बचा चुकी हैं, ऑलरेडी लैंड को भी बचा लिया है. अब क्या आप ऐड कर रही हैं लास्ट में?
Just to say, मैंने पढ़ा था कहीं कि if you wait for somebody else to come and save your planet, you will never be able to save it. ठीक है ना? तो जी goes in everything. किसी भी चीज़ को अगर आप किसी और का वेट करते रहेंगे कि वो आएगा, हर किसी ने जो भी पार्ट हैं सेशन के, वो आज थोड़ी देर बैठे हैं घर में और सोचें, लुक अराउंड यू इन योर होम एंड सी कि यार हम क्या कर सकते. ठीक है, आप दरख्त नहीं लगा सकते, बट आप खाने को कम वेस्ट कर सकते हैं. ठीक है, समथिंग और द अदर इज ऑलवेज देयर दैट यू कैन डू. ठीक है ना? और अगर सब ऐसे सोचना शुरू करेंगे तभी ये काम चलेगा. ठीक है, बहुत आसान है ये कहना और पाकिस्तान के हालात बहुत मुश्किल हैं, बट ऑल्सो द फैक्ट दैट ये जो गोल्स हैं, अगेन आई विल स्ट्रेस कि ये कंसिडर करके बनाए गए हैं कि देयर आर डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज जो कि बहुत अच्छा कर रही हैं, एंड देयर आर अनडेवलप्ड कंट्रीज व्हिच नीड मोर हेल्प. So there are initiatives being taken where the developed countries are investing and helping additionally for the underdeveloped countries to take more initiatives. तो ये काम भी हो रहा है साथ साथ. हमें
Hmm.
अपने लेवल पे हम जो कुछ कर सकते हैं वो हमने सोचना शुरू करना है. हो सकता है कि आप ज़्यादा क्रिएटिव मेजर्स लेकर आएँ और अपनी कंपनी में अगेन सजेस्ट करें कि इस तरह कर लें या उस तरह. सो सोचना शुरू करें. इंसान की कैपेबिलिटी अल्लाह ने इतनी दी है कि we can do anything we want, right? So start
Yeah.
thinking about, take it as your own responsibility, and I'm sure that we will be able to do something or the other to contribute. We can all do that.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
Emma, I would like to add here, जो जहरा ने
Yes.
फूड वेस्टेज की बात की है, बिकॉज आई एम इनटू हॉस्पिटैलिटी. तो यहाँ पे हमारा एक बड़ा कॉमन प्रॉब्लम है कि अगर आप बुफे में आए हैं, आपने इतने पैसे दिए हैं, तो आपने उसको वसूलना है. अब आपकी
Yes.
एक कैपेसिटी है, ठीक है, आप उससे ज्यादा नहीं खा सकते, तो व्हाई टू ओवरफिल योर प्लेट. उसके बाद आधे से ज्यादा आप पोर्शन छोड़ दें कि नहीं यार, मैंने अभी मीठा भी ट्राई करना है,
Start
मैंने अभी
charging
ये भी
them.
ट्राई करना है, मैंने अभी वो भी ट्राई करना है, तो मैं पैसे कैसे वसूलूंगा या वसूलूंगी. ठीक है. सो बीइंग अ होटलियर, हम ये चीजें यहाँ पे, और हमारा फूड वेस्टेज भी डेफिनेटली बहुत ज्यादा होता है. तो हम ऑब्वियसली हम अपने कस्टमर्स को जाके नहीं कह सकते कि जी बी माइंडफुल ऑफ द कंजम्पशन, क्योंकि वो उनको
Yes.
लगेगा कि हम पता नहीं फूड बचा रहे हैं, क्या कर रहे हैं. बट एवरीवन हैज टू टेक देयर ओन रिस्पांसिबिलिटी. हम एक्सेस फूड तो डोनेट कर सकते हैं, बट हम लेफ्ट ओवर फूड डोनेट नहीं कर सकते कि किसी की प्लेट में से वो फिर डस्टबिन में ही जाता है, वो फिर वेस्ट ही होता है. सो एवरीवन हैज टू टेक देयर रिस्पांसिबिलिटी. आप प्लेट में कितना भी भर लेंगे, आपकी कैपेसिटी, आप उतना ही खा सकते हैं. तो बुफेज में हो गया, शादियों में हो गया, हमारा फूड वेस्टेज इन जगहों पे बहुत
Yes.
ज्यादा होता है, बिकॉज
Yes.
आपके पास होता है ऑल यू कैन ईट वाला ऑप्शन.
Wonderful, Marine. Excellent. So I have checked the questions which are in the comment section, but वो already वही questions हैं जिस पे हम लोग बात कर चुके हैं कि पहला स्टेप क्या है, एजुकेशन सेक्टर को क्या करना चाहिए, एज इंडिविजुअल क्या करना चाहिए. तो ये हम सब कवर कर चुके हैं. So we will be ending the session right now. And once again, thank you all the attendees. Your attendance certificate will be emailed on your registered email address once you filled out the feedback form. Our team will send you a feedback form on your registered email addresses once you give us the feedback, because that is very important for our improvement. So after that you will receive the certificate in 1 week. And somebody asked कि slide कैसे मिल सकती हैं, तो ये slide आपको PDF में मिल जाएंगी. और ये वाला सवाल मैंने 1,36,000 मरतबा सुना है कि मुझे स्लाइड मिल जाएंगी. तो बिल्कुल फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट है और मिल जाएंगी. तो सेशन को एंड करेंगे. रिस्पेक्टेड पैनलिस्ट से बस रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि स्टे 5 मिनट्स मोर. हम सेशन यहाँ से एंड कर रहे हैं, बट स्टूडियो में आप रहिएगा.
श्योर.
थैंक यू.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you everyone. Take care. Bye bye.